Welcome to the Midnight Vigil, the channel where the stars are always right and there really is a monster hiding underneath your bed. Tonight I'm going to review the new horror movie Hereditary that everyone's talking about. As usual, this is an audio only episode, so feel free to minimize and go about your business. I will discuss the history, give my impressions, and I'll close with its legacy. So, this is a movie that came out this week. It opened today with Thursday night previews on the 7th. And there you go. That's all the history. That's all that matters about this movie. We're already in the impressions portion. So I'll just go ahead and tell you I hated this movie. In fact, I would go beyond hate. It's not just for me the worst film that I've seen this year. It's one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. And it's interesting because I did some research when I got home after I got back from the theater just a little while ago because I wanted to know, like I felt like I had been here before. Like I'm trapped in some sort of purgatory where I have to relive like this bad movie. Like, stop me if you've heard this one. It's the most terrifying horror movie of all time. It's the scariest film of your life. It will blow you away. It's like The Exorcist, but better. What really just drives me nuts about this hyperbolic advertising campaign that has been run for this movie is how utterly misleading it is. It reminds me of It Comes at Night and The Witch, two other horror movies that I utterly hated. And, it's interesting. This movie actually has something in common with those films, and I really wasn't going totally crazy, at least this time. This is distributed by A24, who was a part of those two previous films, which were also the scariest movies ever made until, the next scariest movie that was ever made the next year and the next one. Why do we keep saying this? Why do marketing campaigns keep lying to audiences? I'm going to tell you what I thought about the film, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I want to. I really want to. I want to break my spoilers rule, but I won't. Here's what I'm going to say. Nothing happens in this movie. There are no scares. There's no tension. Nothing happens at all. No, actually, I'll take that back. Okay, so this is a 2-hour movie. The first hour is utterly agonizing. I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. And something finally does happen. And you're thinking, okay, wow, this is not quite what I was expecting. This is not where I thought the movie was going to go. I wasn't disturbed. I wasn't blown away. Although, if you've seen the movie, you know the moment that I'm talking about. I see people on Twitter and in reviews pointing to this as like the moment of the film. Well, something interesting happens in the movie, and then you're thinking, okay, what happens next? How do the characters react to this strange, bizarre, horrifying thing that just happened? They don't. That's the problem. This thing happens that would change their lives forever. And instead of anyone really talking about it, instead of anyone going over what happened, you see how they're negatively affected because they just start losing their minds and they're crying and whatever. But no one really breaks down like the movie doesn't go anywhere is what I'm saying. So this one thing happens and you're thinking, okay, so we're going to build. The horror is building. Something is happening. We're going to go places in the film. And then instead of doing that, the movie just goes back to being this super slow, very boring, it has about the pace of a glacier. And then it spends the next hour doing nothing. It's a 2-hour film where nothing happens. And if you've seen The Witch or you've seen It Comes at Night, those are the same exact movies where it's a very they're very long. Both of those movies were long, and they're so boring and stupid they feel longer. But you have these 2-hour horror movies that are marketed as horror movies, and then nothing happens in the movie at all. It comes at night. Nothing came at night. The witch, there was really no witch. Nothing happens. Utterly pointless films. What I don't really understand is the idea that this is the new Exorcist. Um, you can't say that every horror movie that comes out is the new Exorcist, because that sort of marketing is obviously a lie on one hand, but it diminishes the value of what you're saying. If everything is the best film of all time, then no movie can be the best film of all time. If you keep moving the bar just based on your impressions and based on your tastes in the moment, we can't ever actually have a real talk and talk about like good movies and their legacy and how fantastic films stand the test of time, because you just keep going backwards. We're not going forwards. And in this movie, another thing, I'm seeing everyone talk about how, Toni Collette, the mother in this movie, Toni Collette deserves an Oscar. Okay, she was fantastic in Krampus, the other horror movie that I've seen her in. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. In this movie, everyone just overacts, screams into the camera. I can see what they were going for. They're going for like a Jack Nicholson descent into madness, like The Shining. But the problem is that, instead of this movie like standing on its own, it just made me want to go watch the better movies that it's playing off of. The cliched story doesn't go anywhere. The twist here is that there is no twist. You get the exact movie that you think. The story tells you exactly what's going to happen, and then that happens. There's nothing surprising. It's a predictable, boring mess. The scariest part of my Hereditary experience was parallel parking at the movie theater. That was the most cerebral, horrifying experience of my night. Or, another thought that I had, people on Twitter saying like, oh, I left the theater and I was shaking, and I left the theater and I can't get the images out of my mind. OMG, scariest film ever. Okay. The problem with that is that it's not scary at all. I saw animated movies growing up that were scarier than this. I would challenge anyone that thinks Hereditary is a scary film, go watch The Brave Little Toaster. Go watch All Dogs Go to Heaven. Those movies are genuinely disturbing. They will scare you. They are not for children. If anyone tells you those movies are for kids, that's a good way. That's part of the starter pack for how to mentally and emotionally disturb your children at a young age. So I want to thank my mom and dad for allowing me to view that, because that's probably why I'm so desensitized to fake horrible baloney like the shocking imagery in Hereditary. Maybe some of the things that happen in the film would be more impactful if they actually happened. A lot of the like OMG moments, a lot of the trailer moments, the trailer's a total lie, but a lot of the scenes that you see in the trailer don't happen. They're just fake. I'm not saying that they're not in the movie. They are in the movie, but it's so misleading. A lot of the like freaky, super freaky, oh my god, that disturbed me moments are like dream sequences that have no bearing on the plot. Dream sequences are lazy, kind of like the product of really hacky writing. Sometimes they work. There are horror movies that have dream sequences that can be scary, but the problem here is that they're used in a way that's supposed to shock you, and I mean, it's not shocking at all. Barney is more shocking to me. There are episodes of the Goosebumps that are more shocking to me. I mean, I guess I really am emotionally stunted because I had no emotional reaction. But I should probably stop rambling. I just hated this movie. I think, well, I'm gonna get to. We'll move on. We'll move on. We're in the legacy section already. Why not? We're making it up as we go. The legacy of this movie, it has fantastic reviews because of course it does. Just like It Comes at Night and The Witch had like fantastic reviews and critics loved them and it was the best thing since sliced bread and oh my god, it's going to change your world forever. The problem here, because we're talking about legacy, the problem with these three movies is how negatively the audience has reacted to them. The Witch, negative audience reaction, or at least apathetic. It Comes at Night, very negative audience reaction. I'm basing this off of Cinemascore as well as anecdotal evidence. I think The Witch had a C or a C minus. It Comes at Night had a D, and I just saw the Hereditary score, and it's pretty good. A D minus, a D minus. I thought that was pretty nice. It's pretty fitting. Excuse me, D plus, D plus. That's a pretty crucial detail. Anecdotally, when we talk about legacy, so my theater, no one was jumping, no one was screaming. You know how like in horror movies where audiences will say stuff like people will laugh after something scary happens because you have to relieve the tension that's built up in the theater. Yeah, none of that happened here. People were restless, not because of the super edgy, disturbing things happening, but because it's just a boring, long movie where nothing happens. The audience I saw, we openly mocked the film at the end when the utterly ridiculous climax begins, where totally stupid things start happening and no one reacts realistically to them for a horror movie that's saying a lot. But again, I can't spoil what's so stupid, but stupid things happen that don't make any sense. The ending is predictable. Like, I'm not saying the ending is what was stupid and what we were laughing at. The build up and the way that the film got to the ending is just dumb. Yeah, I stood outside, when people were going through the exit doors, just sort of listening to how the reactions were from the people. Anecdotal evidence, but it's interesting. My theater was negative. The people that were sitting next to me were very unhappy. We're talking about how they've wasted their money, which I agreed with them. I thought it was a total waste of money. But I didn't hear anyone say very positive comments. A couple of people said the acting was good. That's fine, whatever. It wasn't, but that's okay. Everyone's saying that, so I'm crazy, so why not? But its overall legacy, it's got good reviews on IMDb because of course it does. The art house hipster crowd are out to defend this because, you can't actually have a good scary movie because according to this like indie hipster crowd, it has to be utterly pretentious with beautiful cinematography and a deep emotional story. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. No, I guess my tastes are not as sophisticated as everyone else. I must have a very trashy palate because for a horror movie, the bare minimum that I need is that it needs to be scary in some way. Intentionally scary, not scary like this and how scary it is that I've wasted money seeing it. But I don't see this having a good reception. People on Twitter are talking about the marketing campaign. I've seen Reddit threads where people are talking about, reacting to the Cinemascore and people saying, well, I've seen it and this just about adds up to what I saw. Again, this is really anecdotal. It's got good reviews. It's going to make back its budget because this production house makes these micro budget films for like $3 to $4 $5 million. And then obviously you're going to make more than that, 3 times that in your opening weekend. But are you really going to be remembered in 5 or 10 years in a positive way? It's already been, a year since It Comes at Night, which was, of course, the scariest film of all time when it was released. It's been a couple of years since The Witch, which at least that one had good acting. At least that one had some things I could appreciate. I thought it was a boring, pointless movie overall, but I could understand that there was actual talent involved. The lead actress was fantastic in that movie. But the problem again with that movie is it's a horror movie that isn't a horror movie. The Witch is a historical drama where you could delete all of the spooky things that happened. Nothing would really change from the story. You cut out the 2 minute ending sequence, and you've got yourself a boring historical film that's going to make all of the hipsters just go crazy with enthusiasm about how great it is. The same thing for It Comes at Night. You know, a boring movie where nothing happens. When people talk about scary films, they don't mention those movies. Generally, that's my experience. Maybe that's sort of like a, like perception bias because I didn't like the movies. Maybe I'm only hearing the negative because that's what I want to see. Sure, I'm recognizing that now. That's probably the case. But when we talk about the legacy of a horror film, which that's pretty big for a horror film, is it going to have legs? Are people going to appreciate this? Is it really going to be the next Exorcist? Or is it just going to be another movie that lied and made cheap money and betrayed audience trust and totally misled everyone? I mean, I'm going to leave it up to you, or I hope that I can leave it up to you. Don't go see this movie. It'll be on Netflix in a little while, probably. Maybe it'll find an audience there. I wouldn't pay to see it in theaters. If you absolutely must see it, just wait for it. Wait for the red box. Borrow it from a friend. You can do that if you want, because then at least if you red box it, you're not going to feel cheated like I was. But basically, stay away. I don't know what film everyone else has been seeing. I wish that I could see that movie. Either they're all delusional and film critics are totally out of touch with modern audiences, which is probably the case, or I'm taking crazy pills and I'm stuck in the Twilight Zone, which is pretty exciting. So maybe it's that one too. But that's pretty much it, guys. I feel like I've rambled enough about this. It's a terrible film. I have nothing to say else about it. Stay as far away as you can. That's it. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe, yada yada yada. I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at Midnight Vigil. I will see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye bye. Don't go see this movie. Please, please don't go see this movie.